Most of you know by now, I have 7 children. I have 5 daughters and 2 sons. They're not really children anymore. They range from the age of 42 down to 22, 20-year period. And you're going to meet 3 of my daughters today. And you know, sometimes you do your best to raise these children. You think you got everything down, and then they say things that just shock you. So I get asked all the time, you know, about my children and, you know, how was it for them growing up with a father that was at one time a notorious mobster, did all that time in prison, all over the media, all of that stuff. And obviously it's not a normal life for kids that grow up in that situation. So I thought today, something a little bit different than I normally do. I'm going to introduce you to 3 of my daughters. 2 of them are not here, but 3 are. And we're going to ask them some questions, and I know we'll get a lot of comments afterwards. Feel free to say whatever you like, and we'll take it from there. So today I'm going to ask them some questions. They don't know what I'm going to ask them because I'm curious about a couple of things. So I'm going to put them on the spot, and let's see what happens. So Mikel, you're first, okay? Just recently, we had an election. And in that election, there was a proposition, Proposition 17, and that proposition was allowing a convicted felon to vote. Now, obviously, I voted yes in that proposition. And by the way, some of you know, most of you know, this was the first time I ever voted in my life. In my former life, I didn't have to vote because we were doing things with politicians. Then I went to prison. I lost my right to vote. But this year, I was sent. I registered and was sent the ballot, and I voted. And it was great. You know, it's my civic duty. All my girls did vote. All my kids voted. But you, from what your mom told me, is that you voted against having a convicted felon who has done all of his time be given the ability to vote. And hello, you know, Dad has 3 felony convictions, tried to live a decent life afterwards, and I got the chance to vote. So what's up?
Okay, first of all, so did she.
Yeah.
We both voted.
Did?
Yes.
You voted against it too?
I told you that.
We both voted no. And honestly, when I was just in there voting, I didn't look at the propositions before. The only one I knew about was the Uber one because I was getting text messages left and right for that. And I Uber all the time. I didn't know about the propositions, and I'm in there and I'm reading it and I'm thinking felons, voting, all this stuff. And I'm not, it just, yeah, it like didn't sit right. And the weirdest thing is I didn't think dad. In no part was I like, my dad, I want my dad to vote. I want like, but you had also said, I get to vote this year. So I was like, okay, well, in my opinion, if that were to pass, I feel like it had to be case by case because you're my dad. So obviously, like, I don't stick you in that felon category because I stick you in, you're in my dad category. Exactly. So I think case by case because there are probably some people who deserve to vote. They've done their time. They're good people. They made a mistake, whatever, and they deserve to vote. But there's a lot of people that I feel like they've done wrong in society and they don't have the right to vote, whether they serve their time or not. I don't trust that in other people's hands, only in your hands, but you're like a one-off, so.
Well, okay, but
sorry.
But let's say this.
Did it pass?
You voted.
No, wait a minute. They did the crime.
No, I'm saying
they did the time.
Yeah,
it did pass. No, it did pass.
Oh, it did?
Yes, there's now 50,000 more people that were convicted of crimes that are now allowed to vote. And I'm 100% for that. I don't think they should lose that privilege, but that's very interesting. But I'm glad you didn't put me in that category. That means I must be doing okay.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't think of you and say, I don't want my dad to vote. I just literally was reading it for what it was and thinking, okay, yeah. If anyone else that's a felon that's not my dad and I don't know their whole life story, I don't know that I want them to vote. I don't know their story. That's why I think it has to be like case by case, or maybe I think what it was saying is like right immediately they get to vote, right? Like when they're drive their time. So I was saying maybe like you didn't you have been out of jail for how long? But you just
20 years.
were able to vote. So maybe after 10 years, after
You
5
get your
years,
rights back.
then they get it back, but not immediately.
Well, it passed.
I think they need to be in
I
society
I
first.
voted for it to pass.
You,
and my
I know.
immediate thought was
I know,
absolutely.
but I'm going to ask you
Hannah loves
something
me.
that, yes.
Now.
So you're, I don't want to say you're the most liberal because you're not, but you're forgiving in that regard. But wait a
I'm
second.
a
Wait.
criminal justice major.
I know that. I want to ask you something. Why would you vote against that?
Jules is like me.
I mean, do you realize
We're
if
very
that,
similar.
but if that didn't pass, I wouldn't be allowed to vote.
But you voted before it even passed.
I know.
So
You know
how
what?
does that make any sense?
Because I think California sent me a ballot by accident, honestly. But whatever, I was voting. If they sent it to me, I was voting. But
It's
you
state
feel
by
the same
state,
way?
And I figured even so, like our state would allow it, so you would be able to vote anyways.
Well, that's good. And you're for
Why were
it.
you automatically for it? I'm curious.
Well, I'm a criminal justice major. I feel like there's a lot of like crimes like drug crimes and if you're in for life, if you do a heinous crime, I mean, you're serving a life sentence. Like you're most likely not going to get out. So white collar crimes, I mean, is, you know, whatever they are, like you can still come into society, integrate into society and still have you're paying taxes. You should be able to freaking
Thank you.
vote.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry. You're going to pay tax, you can vote. If you're going to be in jail for the next 10, 15, 20 years serving a life sentence, then that's a different story. But you're going to come and contribute to society and pay your taxes, then yes, you should be able to vote.
Okay. And just so you know, I feel exactly the same way. If they didn't give me the privilege to vote, I probably didn't want to pay my taxes. But I've done that before. I don't want to get in trouble again. But anyway, okay. Now I have a question for you. About, I would say 3 or 4 years ago, I got a call from you when I was a little bit shocked because you said to me, Dad, I want to join the police force. And I had to step back and I had to call your mother and I said, do you know what she just said? She wants to join the police force. How is that going to sit? And, you know, how did it sit with me? Now, I'm not anti-police, you know that. But it's one thing not being anti-police and another thing having my daughter to be a police officer. So, as you know, I eventually supported you and actually tried to help and, you know, have you do it. But where did that come from?
I think it came from an early age. I was a criminal justice major. I mean, honestly, if I could do it without my circumstances and having young kids, it's still like my dream job would to be a police officer. Still. I still not regret, but I still wish that I could have fulfilled that life goal that I had. It was either going to be like a criminal attorney, because I'm very on the criminal justice side, like criminal reform. I'm not very liberal, but I like circumstances with criminal reform. I think it's a really effed up system. The justice system is just as flawed as anything else. It's so corrupt and it's despicable. But anyways, so I wanted to be on the front line. If I was going to be a lawyer or, you know, make a change in society, I need to be on the floor. I need to be in, you know, with the people, and I wanted to be a police officer. And honestly, if it wasn't with a couple of your connections, I probably wouldn't have got as far as I did.
And by the way, you passed all the tests.
I did.
Everything. And she passed it with flying colors. She was right up top, but then circumstances changed, and she didn't become a police officer. I can't say that I'm mad. Yeah, I didn't want her to.
But I don't know, now it's a little scary, but still, there's still time.
Not now.
Well, yeah.
And then I have another question, and Julia, this is for you. And this kind of shocked me at one time, I never really asked you about it because I was too shocked.
I'm scared.
But a couple of years ago, you know, just some people know, my Michael Jr. and I, we had a rough time for a while, a little bit of a rocky relationship. He's a stubborn kid. I don't want to get into it, but he's great now. You know, most of you know he's going to be running slices. He's a chef, doing a great job. But for a while, he and I were like oil and water. We really went at it. One day we're in the house, and I'm reprimanding him, and, you know, I was getting a little loud. Every once in a while, I lose a little bit of control like that, and he's, you know, very defensive. He's getting on my skin. And you walk downstairs, and very emotional, you start yelling at me, and you say, Dad, you're not in the mafia anymore. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of stunned at that, because you never said anything like that before. I mean, do I give you that impression that, you know, at one point in time, I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, what do you think about me being in that life? And what did you think was going to happen when I was talking to him like that?
I didn't think anything was going to happen, but I think the way that you reprimand sometimes gives off that vibe. I mean, it was a very sensitive subject at the time, and I was always in the middle of you and Mike and trying to say whatever I could to just get it to stop, no matter what it was. And that's just what came out of my mouth at the time. I
Right.
mean, I don't really have any explanation other than you were getting loud and it just,
Okay.
you know, and I figured maybe if I said that, that would get you to stop.
Well, it did, because I was
So
stunned.
it worked.
Yes.
So what I
Okay.
said worked.
I was kind of stunned about it. But by the way, as you notice, they're all drinking wine. We drink wine in this family, everything to moderation. We love to go to Napa Valley. We love good wine, so there's nothing wrong with it, and that's it. And they're responsible drinkers, I will tell you that. We all drink, so that's that. But you know, another question that everybody asks me, so I'm going to ask it to all of you, and you can answer. You know, what impact have I had on any of you when it comes to your relations, your boyfriends, your future husband? You know, Mom says that a lot of times you either compare them to me, good or bad, I don't know. And, you know, I'm just curious, like what, because we've never had this discussion. I've never asked this to you. You know, Mom talks to me every once in a while, she'll tell me. But I've never really asked you, did it affect you in any way? Did the fact that, you know, that's my past, how does it impact you in your relationships?
Well, I mean, I think for me, I think we've had probably the closest relationship,
Yes.
I think I would say.
Yeah, and I want to clarify that. Okay. Listen, I love all my children, but like I said, she is the only one of my 7 children that I've been with since birth. You know, she's lived with us. She's not out of the house yet. We've been very close, but you know, I'm close to all of them. I hope they believe that. And you know, as parents, you know, we would give our life for our kids. Doesn't matter, but sometimes we love them a little differently because they're all different. Everybody understands that. But
Well, in the sense that I'm, 10 years younger than the next. So it's been me, you, and Mom pretty much my whole, I mean, they've been gone and out of the house for years now, and it's just been me, you, and Mom, kind of.
yes,
I mean, they've come back, but
yes.
I mean, I think I was married for maybe a little different since you're still super young. It's like young boyfriends come and go. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but I was married for 8 years. I think there's a lot of good things. Yes, it was always like, why are you complaining? Like, Dad would sleep 4 hours. So I have that too. Like, I don't complain. I just keep going and going and going. So that aspect is really hard. It's not a standard that somebody can love up to, and it's not really fair. But then again, it's kind of like, this is me. Like, if you're going to complain, I don't have time for that. So I think it was a point of contention in my relationship. But also, you're a big softie. Mom is like a little, like, when I got pregnant, I was afraid to tell my mom, but when I told you, you were very like open and loving and like, this is my grandbaby and everything's gonna be okay. So your bark sometimes is bigger than your bite with your children in a sense, but you know, it's like a balance.
And I didn't want to kill your
You did.
boyfriend. Well,
You did, but you know.
but I didn't.
Exactly. So there's 2 sides to that.
Okay.
yeah, that's definitely been the hardest part. Is because in regard to me and you, it's always been like, you don't say no to me, and you're always. I mean, you don't. I mean, it's
true.
It's a beautiful relationship that we have, and you've always been
Well, you
there
don't
for
say no to
me.
anybody. I don't think. Does
No.
he say no to you?
I agree. Do I say no to any of you, really? Have you ever asked me for anything that I've said out of the question? No. Other than you wanting to go skydiving, and I said, I'll kill you, and you did it anyway. I didn't know it
Super
until
fun.
2 years later. But I
You
wanted to kill your
make-
boyfriend at
You
that
make
time.
everything happen, no matter what it is, and you
That's the
you
thing.
never
Yeah.
complain, and you're never like, even if something so wrong is going on in your life, and we'll never know about it because you just handle it on your own, and your life could have been crashing, but we're not going to know about it because you handle it, and you come here and you're happy and you do everything for your family. And I mean, I don't know anyone who's like that.
But that's not always good. I can't imagine the toll it takes on you, and you alone will only know that.
Yeah.
But it's
But I think, like, honestly, I know I've had the most relationships out of anyone in this family. Like, not like I've had a million, but I've had 4 serious boyfriends that I've like brought into the family and I'm the oldest. So I've kind of experienced that more than Joel's and more than, you were married, but it was like your second serious relationship. I think it is really hard. Like I find myself being like, why are these guys so fragile? Why are they so soft? Because like they're like just like the complete opposite of like the example that I had.
Yeah.
And like I said, like we were all saying, there's like good and bad to that. There's like, and mom will always say, it's not fair to do that. You cannot hold these men in your life or who you're dating at the time to the standard of your dad. Like your dad is your dad. Like your dad would do anything for you, would die for you. But at the same time, you want that in your partner, right? You want your partner to want to do the same things, but it's still a little different. So I feel like it is unfair to hold them to that standard, but that's the only standard I know.
Yeah.
And that's all I can see. And when it's like, when I know that like, okay, I'm in a relationship for 3, 4, 5 years, and I'm like, in my 30s, and I'm thinking, if shit hits the fan, I should be able to call that person, right? That should be my number one go-to at this point in my life. But it's not going to be. It'll never be you.
And
like,
I like that.
And I'm thinking, like, even forever, like, even if someone does get to that standard where it's like, okay, I found the one that, like, they live up to what I want, and, like, it's just, like, a great partnership, I still kind of feel like I'm never going to not
call dad.
Need my dad.
But that's a special skill set that you have and learn.
It's a special
like
set of
you're
skills.
the real like Liam Neeson, So I'm like, oh, shit goes down. Like I don't care who it is, I'm calling you no matter
and
what.
I kind of feel like more recently, because I've been in and out of the house. I've come home, I've left. I've needed you a lot. So I feel like more recently, I haven't needed you as much. And that kind of makes me feel good because I'm like, okay, I moved out, I'm doing this, I have my job, I have my own health insurance, I'm paying for this, I'm doing that, and it feels good, but I know that like I will, it's like if I ever crash and burn, I know I'm never going to crash and burn because like you're always going to be there for me. And I want to say I don't need my dad because I'll never say that because I know that I'll always need you. Like, and I want that. And I know that.
And I want that.
Sometimes it's like, oh, you guys only want to like spend time with me. You only talk to me when like you need something. And that kind of like, it kind of set in with me more recently because like I said, I don't need you as much right now, but it should get to that point where that relationship should be there, not because I need you, but because we just have that relationship. Yeah. And I've noticed that more recently because I haven't needed you as much. And for most of my life, I've really needed you like all the time. Like it's like touch and go. So
but you make it hard too, though.
You make it hard
because
you make it hard for boyfriends and you make it hard for us.
Because if they don't do,
I want to be hard. I want to make it hard for boyfriends.
Exactly what you do. It's like, well, they should have done this and they should have done this, and they're not doing you right, and you deserve better. And it's like, no, they're really great, amazing people. They're just not you.
I understand, but
they're not always amazing.
You need to.
I mean, let's just keep it real.
But wait a second.
They are.
Every father wants this for their daughter. You need to hold your boyfriends to a certain standard because you were brought up a certain way, and they got to treat you right, and that's it.
We do, but I also think it makes us like harder on them and like kind of like unrealistic expectations that are unfair that cause like turmoil because it's like, oh my gosh, he could like literally go do all this stuff and then one day he like doesn't open the door for you and then you're like, oh my god, he's the worst human being that ever lived. And it's like he gets sick and I have to take care of him. My dad's like, that's ridiculous. Right? He should be able to take care of himself.
You have to drive there and bring him
You shouldn't have to do that. And I'm like, well, I hope that if I'm sick that they would do the same.
I agree with you.
Like you're the same. We're the same and you guys are the same.
I'm sorry. If you
guys are more similar and Jules and I are more
similar. Well, I do want to say this.
Because I have 2 kids and myself to take care of.
Exactly.
But I don't. We don't.
Exactly.
I do want to say this. You know, I know in their earlier years, you know, having done 8 years in prison, it was kind of a lot of work to try to get back into being dad again because I wasn't there for a long time. And look, I experienced that in my own life when my father was away for all those years and you become like, you're not at the house anymore. So you didn't rely on me. You didn't think about it that way. Mom was everything at that point in time. So the fact that Yeah, I mean, and still. But the fact that we've been able to come together, it's, for me, it's a blessing. And it's a lot of work. You parents out there, I always say this, you got to give your children a reason not to love you. You got to try hard to make them love you. That's just the way it is, right or wrong, it's just the way it is. But, well, this is good to hear. Listen, if you enjoy this, we're going to do this again. We are. But I want to say one thing before we go. My daughter Amanda, I want to thank all of you. She was the one that recently had the thyroid surgery. You probably can't tell. She's up and back to normal quick. She's just that feisty, very independent. I'm going to make everything happen kind of person. But I want to thank you, and I know she wants to thank you. I had thousands of prayers, and I still get comments from people, how's Amanda doing? Well, now you can see that. She's doing terrific. And I do want to say this too. These are all fitness experts right here. They're all tremendous in dance. They're all fitness personal trainers right here, the two of them. She is doing a lot of different things. She's a makeup artist. What else are you doing now? Sent you to school for? Esthetician. She's also going to be acting in the TV series that's based upon my life. Yes, there's a nepotism in this business, but she's still got to do the job. She can't act right, they'll throw her off the set. But she's going to have that opportunity. I'm excited for her. So I enjoyed this, and I think we're going to continue to do it. So anything else you want to say before we sign off? If you live in Southern California, again, get in touch with me. I'll tell you how to train. I guarantee you'll be in the best shape of your life. They do have, I don't want to say significant others, but they are in relationships. But well, Amanda's not at the moment, but that'll happen fairly quick, I'm sure.
No, I'm in a relationship with my son and my daughter.
Yes,
they're everything.
Amanda has given me 2 amazing grandchildren. I really mean amazing. I have 6 altogether. My other 2 daughters in New York. You'll get to meet them, I hope, one day also. My 2 boys, I'm going to get them sitting down here at one point in time. They're camera shy, but I'll loosen them up with a glass of wine. They'll be fine after that. But I got to say this again. It's been such a blessing, and this is why I thank the Lord. In case you haven't noticed, I keep it on my wrist. My daughter convinced me to get a tattoo. I want to say this too, okay? You're not going to like this, but I don't normally cuss on camera, but I'm going to say this because we hate this thing. We got tattoos on our shoulder that say, fuck cancer, okay? Because we've all had our experiences. I beat cancer, she beat cancer, and then we've had others in our family that weren't that as fortunate, but I'm sure many of you feel the same way. So that's it for today. Thank you all for tuning in, and I promise you we'll be back. Anything you want to say in closing?
Dad.
We love you, Dad.
Thank you. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed meeting my daughters. I certainly enjoyed having them meet you. And people, I've said this many times before, and I'll say it again. If you're part of the mob life and you die of old age and you die free, you've really accomplished something, especially when you reach the level that I've reached. You had the amount of exposure that I've had. And for me, it's even, more of a blessing than that, to be able to be around my children, to have my life transformed. And I'm so thankful. I wake up every day thankful for that. So I'm going to let you meet more of my family. I want you to see how we are and how we've gotten together, how everything has worked out for me. And I want to be an inspiration for all of you, because if I can transform my life through Jesus Christ, then anyone can. Doesn't matter what situation you've been in your life, no matter how down you were, if you're committed to doing so and you give your life to Jesus, believe me, things will change. I promise you that. So that's it for today. Once again, thank you very much for tuning in. 250,000 plus subscribers, michaelfranzese.com. Our community is growing in leaps and bounds. People are enjoying it, being uplifted and encouraged. I encourage you to join and be part of my crew. You're going to only benefit by it, I promise you that. So that's it for today. We're going to see you next time. Be safe, be healthy. God bless you. And yes, I will see you next time.